Most things in this video start out completely harmless, like a joke, an offhand comment. Someone laughs, everyone laughs, and then, that should have been it. But the joke doesn't disappear. It gets repeated, shared, tried out just for fun. And at some point, someone says, hey, what if we actually do it, in the US? If a joke gets enough people on board, it can turn into a habit, a tradition, an entire money-making industry, and sometimes a disaster no one saw coming. Across these 31 stories, there's definitely at least one you've laughed at or taken part in. Because the real question isn't who came up with the joke first. It's who was the first to stop laughing and start taking it seriously. Story 1, the Tide Pod Challenge. At first, this was just a sarcastic internet meme. Brightly colored Tide Pods looked more like candy than detergent, and people joked, no one is dumb enough to eat this. The internet laughed, very confident, and very optimistic. Then someone tried it, not because they were hungry, but because they wanted to prove they were different. One bite recording a video, uploading it, and waiting for the views to skyrocket. What showed up wasn't fame, but the hospital. Real doctors, real poisoning, real consequences, no filter. The joke spread so fast that U.S. health authorities had to issue an official warning, please do not eat detergent. A sentence humanity really should not need to hear. The problem was never the Tide Pod. It was the moment the crowd forgot the line between laughing for fun and doing it for attention. When everyone thinks surely no one would actually do this, there's always one person who does it first. Story 2. Storm Area 51. Everything started as a very Facebook-style joke. An event created just for fun with a title like, if we all run at once, they can't stop all of us. It sounded stupid. It sounded harmless. It sounded like something someone made at midnight. Then thousands of people clicked going. Then hundreds of thousands. Then millions. At that point, the joke had a data time and people seriously asking, what should we wear? The U.S. military, not exactly famous for internet humor, had to release an official statement. Not to joke back, but to remind everyone this is a real military base with real fences, real weapons, and consequences that are also very real. No one actually planned to storm Area 51. But when a meme gets big enough, it stops being a joke. It starts brushing up against things people usually don't like to laugh about, like national security. Story 3. Gender reveal parties. At first, this was a very sweet idea. A cake, a balloon, a family moment holding their breath to see blue or pink. Harmless, cute. And it should have stopped right there. But the internet thought, not enough. Then came flares, smoke bombs, fireworks. Gender reveals that sounded like action movie trailers. And suddenly the party ended as evening news, real wildfires, real accidents, real deaths, all to announce a piece of information the child wouldn't even care about for several more years. No one starts a gender reveal planning to call the fire department, but when attention matters more than safety, things escalate fast. The problem was never the cake or the balloon. It was the moment someone decided their special moment was worth risking the world around them. Story 4. Slenderman. Slenderman started as a completely fictional story on the internet. A tall, thin, faceless character created purely to scare people for fun. Just creepy enough to read, then shut the laptop and go to sleep. No one thought it was real. At least, most people didn't. Then the story was shared, expanded, rewritten and retold in a more serious tone. And somewhere along the way, someone started to believe this was no longer fiction. The truly scary part was never Slenderman himself, but the moment the line between imagination and real life began to blur. Real-life tragedy followed. No jump scares, no background music, just very real consequences for very real people. The internet likes to call it creepypasta, but for those involved it was never entertainment. Because not every joke is safe once it spreads, and not everyone online is reading with the same level of awareness. Story 5. Dogecoin. Dogecoin was created with a very clear spirit to be a joke. A cryptocurrency inspired by a Shiba Inu meme made purely to poke fun at people who took money too seriously. No grand white paper. No promise to change the global financial system. Just one unspoken message. Please don't invest seriously. The internet heard that, nodded politely, and bought it anyway. Bought a lot. bought together. The price went up for real. Real money came in. And some people lost money. Very real money. The media started writing articles. Experts started analyzing. Celebrities started tweeting. And suddenly, no one was quite sure whether this was still a collective joke or a financial asset that needed serious explanations. The funniest part is this Dogecoin never changed. It was always a meme. Only people changed. Because when enough people believe in something, even if it started as a joke, the belief can still create real value. Story 6, Florida Man. It all started with headlines that sounded impossible to believe. Florida man arrested for whatever came next always sounded made up, bizarre, illogical, and completely real. The internet noticed this and did what it always does, collected them, shared them, gave it a name. And that's how Florida Man was born, as a fictional character, even though every story involved a real person. The more headlines got shared, the more famous Florida Man became. Not as a hero, but as a symbol of bad decisions. An entire state with tens of millions of people reduced to a few laugh-out-loud headlines. None of them signed up to become a meme. But the internet doesn't ask for permission. When a joke gets repeated long enough, it starts shaping a reputation. And sometimes that joke sticks so hard no one even remembers where it started. Story 7, Karen. Karen used to be a completely normal name. Someone's mom's name, an old teacher's name, a name called out in a hospital waiting room. It meant nothing special, and it definitely wasn't an insult. Then the internet realized this name was convenient. Convenient to label a certain kind of behavior. Convenient to mock. Convenient to laugh without having to explain too much. And that's how Karen became a meme. Say one word and everyone instantly knows what you're implying. Videos spread fast, comments got sharper, laughter got louder. But while the internet was having fun, real people named Karen started getting teased, avoided, even attacked over a name they never chose. No one makes a meme intending to hurt innocent people. But when a joke is too easy to use, it's very easy to abuse. And from that moment on, the joke stopped being just a joke. It started turning into a social weapon. Story 8, Pumpkin Spice. Pumpkin spice started out very modestly. Just a seasonal flavor. Cinnamon nutmeg cloves the kind of stuff that sounds like it lives in your grandma's kitchen cabinet. You drink it for fun. Try it once. And then it should have ended when the season ended. But America smelled it and said, not enough. Pumpkin spice showed up in coffee, then pastries, then scented candles, then body wash, and somewhere out there probably even car tires. No one remembers who first called it fall in a cup, but everyone knows exactly when it comes back. The moment the air gets slightly chilly before the internet even asks your opinion, your hand is already ordering a pumpkin spice latte. No one forced it. No one signed a contract. Just repetition, year after year, until one flavor turned into a cultural signal. That's how habits form. Quietly, subconsciously, and so effectively you don't even remember when you started. Story 9, Rickrolling. Rickrolling started as an extremely simple internet prank. Someone sends you a link that sounds perfectly reasonable. You click it. And instead of what you expected, Rick Astley appears, looks you straight in the eye, and starts singing. No warning, no consent, no escape. The surprising part is this. It never died. It survived old forums, early YouTube, platforms that disappeared faster than promised security updates. Rickrolling didn't need upgrades, no new versions, just one click and a bit of misplaced trust. And even when you know it's coming, you still click. Because part of you is curious. What if this time it's not no one owns Rickrolling, no one runs it, there's no end date, just millions of people participating without ever signing up? A joke that's simple enough never goes out of style. And Rickrolling proved one thing: some memes are immortal. Story 10, Crocs. Crocs were once seen as the symbol of a fashion disaster. Those hole-filled plastic shoes that looked like oversized kids' toys, mocked everywhere from talk shows to family dinner tables. No one bought Crocs to look stylish. People bought them because they were light, convenient, and because they had given up on impressing anyone. Then people started wearing Crocs as a joke, around the house, to the grocery store, with a very clear mindset: they're so ugly it probably doesn't matter. But when enough people wear something without caring, Crocs start getting noticed. Celebrities wear them, influencers wear them, Fashion houses collaborate, more colors, higher prices, and suddenly the shoes that used to be laughed at show up on fashion runways. No one planned to turn Crocs into an icon. It just happened. Small step by small step. One, I'll wear them because they're convenient at a time. And that's when irony wins. When you wear something as a joke and the world takes it seriously. Story 11. Pet rock. When Americans bought rocks as a joke, the idea started with a perfect ad pitch. A pet that doesn't need feeding, doesn't need walking, doesn't shed, and will never run away. It was a rock. Pet rock was sold as exactly that. A real rock. No batteries, no technology. Just a rock sitting in a box. It came with a pet care manual teaching you how to train your rock and explaining why it's so well behaved, because it does absolutely nothing. The strange part is this. Buyers knew it was a joke. No one was fooled. No one expected the rock to wag its tail. But people still bought it. Bought it to laugh. Bought it as a gift. Bought it to prove they got the joke. Pet rock wasn't selling a useful product. It was selling a shared moment. That feeling when you look at someone and both of you understand, yes, this is ridiculous. And that's exactly why it's funny. Sometimes people don't buy things. They buy the feeling that they're in on the joke. Story 12. Ugly Christmas sweaters. Dressing ugly for fun, then turning into a tradition. Back in the day, ugly Christmas sweaters were a family embarrassment. The kind you only wore when there were no other options left. Reindeer with misaligned eyes. Santa looking like he was barely holding life together. And the whole family pretending not to notice. Then someone had an idea. What if we wear ugly on purpose, just to get a laugh? Just to mess with each other at the year-end party? A small joke, harmless and very Christmas. But the internet didn't stop there. Ugly sweater parties appeared. Ugly sweater contests were born. Serious prizes. Manufacturers jumped in. And suddenly, ugly became a style. Today, if Christmas comes without ugly sweaters, something feels missing. No one remembers who started it. They just know everyone's doing it. And that's how irony works. When you repeat a joke long enough, it stops being a joke and becomes a very serious tradition. Story 13. Casual Friday, the day of dressing for fun that turned into an unwritten rule. There was a time when American offices were a world of suits, ties, and stiff shoes. You could be creative with ideas, but never with clothing. Friday was no different. Still suits, still ties, still that slight pressure on your collar reminding you, this is work. Then a small suggestion appeared sounding completely harmless. What if Fridays were just a little more relaxed, not breaking rules, just losing the tie, wearing pants you could breathe in, letting the mind loosen up before the weekend? The surprising part was this. Nothing went wrong. Work still got done. No mass napping. Productivity didn't collapse like people feared. And so Casual Friday spread, from a small experiment to a shared habit, then into an unspoken standard. To the point where today, if a company announces the end of Casual Friday, employees treat it as a rights violation. What was once allowed just for fun quietly became a benefit no one ever signed for. Story 14. Adulting. When being an adult became a joke concept, adulting started as a sarcastic slang term, used to complain about doing very normal things, paying bills on time, grocery shopping without buying candy, remembering to bring your health insurance card. Stuff like, wow, I did some serious adulting today. And somehow you feel more tired just saying it. Then it spread fast. Everyone used it. Social media picked it up. T-shirts printed, adulting is hard. Every post flexing adulting level 3 out of 10 need more sleep. And while everyone was laughing, the joke started telling the truth. It reflected a very shared feeling. Fear of growing up. Fear of responsibility. Fear of always having to know what you're doing. Adulting doesn't mock being an adult. It shows we needed a way to laugh and lighten the pressure. But when responsibility gets memeified, it doesn't disappear. It just puts on a funny hat and waits for you to deal with it. Story 15. Dad jokes. When bad jokes were promoted to an art form, back then bad jokes were a liability. You'd say one, the room would go silent. People avoided eye contact. Someone cleared their throat to change the subject. No one was proud of that. Then the internet showed up and said, wait, this is kind of amazing. Dry jokes, predictable setups, punchlines followed by awkward silence suddenly got a name, dad jokes. The humor isn't in the joke itself. It's in the reaction, the collective sigh, the helpless headshake, and the laugh that shows up later than expected. Dad jokes don't try to make you laugh. They fully accept how bad they are, and that confidence is exactly what makes them work. People laugh not because the joke is good, but because everyone recognizes the moment. Standing in the middle of the room, saying something terrible and still being proud of it. Sometimes people laugh because they see themselves in that awkwardness. Story 16, Friendsgiving, a fake holiday that became a real one. Friendsgiving started as a backup plan version of Thanksgiving, for people who couldn't make it home in time, or didn't want to, or simply weren't ready to answer the same familiar questions. The idea was very simple. Turkey with friends, no rituals, no family pressure, no one forcing you to say what you're thankful for before eating. At first, it was just a temporary solution, a meal for fun, a name that sounded half joke, half serious, like Thanksgiving, but with friends. Then Friendsgiving spread, each year bigger than the last. There were calendars, group chats, people who decided this was the real holiday dinner, to the point where family Thanksgiving started to feel like the backup option. Friendsgiving didn't replace tradition. It adjusted it to fit modern life. And just like that, a fake holiday became something people genuinely looked forward to. Sometimes the fake thing fits better than the original. Story 17. Adult coloring books. A kid's activity turned into therapy. The idea of adults sitting down to color once sounded ridiculous. Like you spend all day working, then come home at night to color fish leaves and swirling patterns. It sounded more like punishment than relaxation. At first, everyone laughed. This is for kids. How could coloring possibly help adults? An idea easily filed under just a joke. Then science walked into the room. Studies talked about focus, stress reduction, a sense of control in a chaotic world. It turned out coloring doesn't fix life problems, but it gives your brain a short vacation. And that's how an industry formed. Adult coloring books, premium colored pencils, themes like meditation, mandalas, rainforests. No one was laughing anymore. Adult coloring books don't turn you into a child. They simply allow you to rest in the most basic way possible. Because not every joke is wrong. Sometimes we laugh first and understand later. Story 18, Snuggie, the joke gift everyone actually uses. Snuggie entered the world through an ad that got collectively mocked. Adults wearing blankets with sleeves, sitting on the couch like it was some strange ritual. The internet took one look and agreed no one needs this. Snuggie became the perfect joke gift. Bought for laughs, bought for the story, given with a very clear attitude, I bought this for you, because it's ridiculous. Then one night came. It was cold, the house was quiet, you were tired, and the blanket with sleeves was right there. You tried it on, just once, to prove you were right, and suddenly, it was warm. Your hands still worked, your phone didn't fall, the remote didn't disappear, the sarcasm melted faster than the cold. Snuggie didn't win because of good design. It won because it was practical. When you're alone, no one's watching. No one's judging. Convenience always beats irony. And that's how a joke gift stays in your closet longer than you'd ever admit. Story 19. ASMR. Weird whispering turned into a sleep industry. The first time people heard ASMR, the common reaction was, "What is this?" whispers right in your ear. Fingernails tapping. Chewing sounds so detailed you could hear everything. Creepy, and somehow impossible to explain. At first, the internet laughed. Who needs a stranger whispering to help them sleep? It sounded like a very private joke, and a very hard thing to recommend to someone else. Then something strange happened. Millions of people found it comforting. They listened to relax, to ease anxiety, to finally fall asleep. YouTube stepped in. ASMR channels popped up. Real views, real ad money. And science started looking into why the body reacts positively to such odd sounds. ASMR doesn't need you to understand it. Your body already does. And that's the funniest part. The human brain doesn't care how ridiculous you think something is. If it helps you sleep, it wins over every bit of sarcasm. Story 20, Goat Yoga. When a joke turned into a business model. Yoga with goats sounds more like a troll than a wellness activity. Deep breathing, holding poses, and a goat casually stepping onto your back like this is completely normal behavior. The internet laughed, loudly, because no one thought this was the path to inner peace. It sounded illogical and almost impossible to take seriously. Then someone started selling tickets, and people bought them. Real money, real participation, real photos, very real laughter. No one goes to goat yoga to reach ultimate enlightenment. They go for the experience, for the story they'll tell afterward, for the feeling of, I just did something slightly ridiculous, but fun. Goat yoga didn't win because it made sense. It won because it was different. In a world full of schedules and rules, a just weird enough experience suddenly feels worth paying for. And that's how a joke learned how to send an invoice. Story 21, Raid Shadow Legends. When memes about ads became the ads, there was a time when you couldn't go anywhere on YouTube without seeing Raid Shadow Legends. Cooking videos had it, science videos had it, meditation videos somehow had it too. And the internet's shared reaction was a collective sigh. Everyone hated the ad, hated how often it appeared, hated how familiar it was, hated it so much that the moment the intro line started, people hit skip. Then Raid made a very internet-savvy move. They didn't dodge the hate, they embraced it. Creators started joking about, oh look, it's Raid again. Audiences laughed because it was painfully familiar, and the ad became a meme about itself. The strange part is this, everyone remembers the name, not the gameplay, not the graphics. But the name Raid Shadow Legends is burned into memory. Raid didn't aim to be loved. They chose to be remembered. And on the internet, being disliked but constantly present can sometimes be more effective than being liked and then forgotten. Because in advertising, being forgotten is the real failure. Story 22, Emotional Support Animals. When taking the joke too far breaks a real system. At first, emotional support animals had a genuinely humane purpose, helping people who truly needed emotional support live and travel more easily. A good idea, one that deserved respect. Then the internet showed up, and the internet asked, so where's the limit? And suddenly people started bringing animals onto planes, not just dogs, but cats, pigs, even animals that made flight attendants pause and Google just to be sure they actually existed. People laughed, the media laughed, memes spread fast. Because visually, yes, it really was funny, but the consequences weren't funny at all. Rules got tighter, airlines got exhausted, and people who genuinely needed emotional support started getting questioned, blocked, and denied. No one set out to break the system. They just wanted to have a little fun. But when a joke is used in the wrong place, it doesn't just make people laugh, it causes harm. And in this case, the ones who paid the highest price weren't the ones joking. Story 23, Extreme Ironing, Mocking Danger, then turning it into a sport. Extreme ironing started as a very clear piece of satire. Ironing clothes is a boring household chore, so the idea was to take it to the most dangerous places possible. Mountain climbing, skydiving, standing next to cliffs, ironing a shirt like it was completely normal. The original message was obvious. Laugh at how humans love turning simple things into unnecessarily complicated ones. A very British kind of joke. Dry, awkward in just the right way. Then someone looked at it and said, wait, this is actually cool. So people started climbing higher, taking bigger risks, getting better photos. There were competitions, judges, people training seriously to iron clothes. Extreme ironing went from satire to a real activity, no longer just for laughs, but for competition. And that's the most ironic part. Not everyone understands satire. Some people see a joke and decide doing it for real might be even better. Story 24, Milk Crate Challenge. When the internet forgot about gravity, at first glance, the milk crate challenge looked hilarious. Stacks of milk crates piled on top of each other. Someone stepping up wobbling like a silent comedy scene. People online watched and thought, if they fall, it can't be that bad. The internet laughed, loudly, together, and very fast. Then the challenge escalated. The stacks got higher, the camera got closer, the cheering got louder, and gravity started reminding everyone that it exists. Real accidents happen, real falls, real injuries, real hospitals. No filter can make bones hurt less. The scary part is this. Everyone knows it's dangerous, but everyone thinks I can probably do it. I'm different. The milk crate challenge didn't fail because it was a bad idea. It failed because the internet has no brakes. Memes only need views. They don't care about your knees, your back, or your spine. And that's when the joke stops, when gravity takes back control. Story 25. Literally. When a word is misused long enough, the dictionary gives in. At first, literally had a very clear meaning. Exactly as stated. No metaphor, no exaggeration. No, I literally died laughing while still breathing just fine. Then people started using it wrong. Literally died of embarrassment. Literally mind blown. Literally can't believe it. No one died. Nothing exploded. But everyone understood. Language lovers got irritated. They corrected people. They explained. They wrote long posts. The internet listened and literally didn't care. Then the turning point happened. The dictionary updated. Literally officially gained a new meaning, used for emphasis even when it's not literal. Mistake became standard. Wrong became right. Not because of logic, but because enough people had used it that way for long enough. Language doesn't run on ideals, it runs on habits. And when enough people say the same thing, reality adjusts to keep up. Because in language, sometimes it's not right or wrong that decides. It's who there are more of. Story 26. Okay, Boomer. When a joke line became a generational weapon. Okay, Boomer started as a casual response, like a polite nod while your brain has already left the conversation. No arguing, no explaining. Just a way of saying, yeah, I heard you. The internet loved that efficiency. The phrase spread fast, applied to everything. From financial advice to long moral lectures with no line breaks. Then it escalated. It stopped being a joke. It became a symbol, a clean cut between generations. The person saying it felt relieved. The person hearing it felt dismissed. Okay, Boomer doesn't need content. It carries its own message. Your opinion is outdated, and that's when the phrase became sharp. Language may be small, but when used in the right place, it can hit harder than most people expect. A joke repeated often enough can turn into a social weapon. And weapons are never harmless. Story 27. Thanks, Obama. A sarcastic line that completed the political circle. Thanks, Obama started as a playful way to assign blame. Internet slow, thanks, Obama. Cold coffee, thanks, Obama. Lost your keys. Might as well be Obama, too. The idea was very clear. Mock the habit of blaming every problem in life on someone you've never even met. The internet laughed, consistently, for a long time. Then the phrase escaped meme territory. It showed up on t-shirts, on talk shows, even inside serious political debates, and everyone quietly understood something. It was no longer really about Obama. At its peak, President Obama himself used the line. Self-mockery, closing the loop, leaving the internet unsure whether to keep laughing or start clapping. Thanks, Obama lost its sides, lost its owner. It became a cultural reflex, because when a joke is repeated long enough, it slips out of the creator's hands and starts living a life of its own without asking anyone for permission. Story 28. Flat Earth Revival. When an intellectual joke gets mistaken for truth. Flat Earth was once mentioned as a thought experiment, the kind of question used to test how well do you understand science, an intellectual joke, a light satire of denying basic knowledge. At first, everyone knew it was a joke. The speaker laughed, the listener laughed. The punchline was right there. Of course, the Earth isn't flat. Then the internet did what it always does. Context got cut. Half a sentence got shared. Long videos were added. Diagrams appeared. And somewhere along the way, someone started nodding very seriously. The joke got distorted. It stopped being satire. It became a real belief. There were groups, conferences, people spending their lives trying to prove something that had already been proven long ago. The scary part isn't the original idea. It's this: not everyone makes it to the punchline. On the internet, if you miss the ending, a joke can easily turn into doctrine. And when sarcasm disappears, false belief can walk in wearing a completely serious face. Story 29. The Game. A joke that exists entirely in your head. The rules of the game are extremely simple. If you think about it, you lose. And if you know this rule, sorry, you just lost. No app required, no platform, no post. Just a passing thought, and it's over. The strange thing is this: the game spreads without the internet. Someone mentions it quietly. Someone laughs. Someone groans. And suddenly you're pulled into a game you never agreed to play. There are no winners, no scores, just an endless chain of losses repeating in silence. The game doesn't need physical existence. No images, no logo, no merchandise. It lives entirely in your head. And that's why it's powerful. You can't block it. You can't delete it. You can't unfollow it. In the world of memes, the most dangerous thing isn't what you see every day. It's the thing that only needs to be mentioned to win. Oh, and by the way, you just lost again. Story 30 going viral. When randomness became a science. Back then, viral was an accident, a random video, a slip of the tongue. Someone uploaded it and went to sleep. Woke up the next morning to find their life going in a new direction. No one planned for it, no strategy, no posting schedule, just coincidence and a bored internet. Then things changed. People started analyzing best posting times. How many words in the title? A shocking hook in the first 3 seconds. Which emotions get shared the most? Viral stopped being an accident. It became a goal, then a formula, then a full industry. The funny part is this. The harder people try to go viral, the more everything starts to look the same. Everyone wants to be different, so in the end, everyone looks identical. Going viral used to be a lucky moment. Now it's a step-by-step plan. And that's when the joke ends. When surprise gets put into an Excel spreadsheet. Story 31. The joke that never ended. When irony became a way of life. Looking back at the 30 stories before this, there's one pattern that's hard to ignore. Almost all of them started as a joke. Light, harmless, just something to laugh at. Then the joke got repeated, shared, acted out. Half joking, half serious. And at some point, no one was quite sure whether they were laughing or living inside it. The line between joke and reality slowly blurred. Irony stopped being seasoning and became the main language. Sarcasm wasn't there to get laughs anymore. It was there to make things easier to survive. We joke about work, joke about money, joke about the future, and then keep doing all of it. Very seriously. The unsettling thought is this. Maybe there is no final big joke coming. Maybe this is it. One long-running joke told through everyday life. And the funniest part of all is this. We're no longer sure whether we're telling the story or whether we are the punchline. Looking back at all 31 stories, one thing becomes pretty clear. It's not America that's strange. It's people. Given enough encouragement, we can take just about anything seriously, even things that started out as a joke. So the real question isn't, is this joke harmless? It's this 5 years from now, will it still be considered a joke? Which joke today do you think is no big deal? And is it already on its way to becoming a habit, a tradition, or part of real life? Leave a comment. Which joke do you think will be the next one to step out of the internet? Like if you laughed. Comment if you ever took part. Subscribe if you enjoy stories that are funny and uncomfortably real. Because the next time a joke gets out of control, you might be standing very close to it.